If you do not like someone's story, write your own. Changing Narratives with Wambui Kabage.
Hello, everyone. This is Wambui Kabage back again, and we are going to be discussing a very, I would say, heavy topic because it relates to divorce. It's all lovely, when you begin getting married, planning your wedding and all these wonderful things. But, the reality is, and unfortunately the statistics are getting more and more glum, is that, marriages are ending in divorce. And I think it's really important that people understand that although this may be the reality, marriages and divorces are a part and parcel of life. And we must learn to live with them in a manner that allows us to be civilized, that allows us to, regardless, retain and preserve our families. And you may be asking, but Wambui, what do you mean by that? How do you divorce and then preserve the family? Well, you see, the fact remains that, yes, you started this incredible relationship and things didn't go well. But during that relationship, a number of things happened. You acquired, siblings-in-law. You acquired parents-in-law. You possibly had children together. And so, as easy as it may have been to come together, the separation at the divorce stage becomes more excruciating, more painful, and the consequences are more great. And in that, then, it means we must begin to be more deliberate, more conscious, and more compassionate about how we go about the process of divorce. There is the law, and the law is very specific about the reasons that you can apply to the courts for divorce. Now, in the previous episodes that we had, we discussed the monogamous marriages, we discussed the polygamous marriages. Under the Marriage Act of 2014, regarding 4 categories of marriages, being specifically the civil marriage, the Christian marriage, the Hindu marriage, and the customary marriage, the grounds of divorce, or the reasons that you are permitted to come under the law to seek a divorce are, I would consider, simply as rolling a dice. So why I said that is a dice is, for me, an acronym for you and myself to remember the different categories or the different reasons why you would be seeking a divorce. The first one being A is adultery. All right? That is a reason why you would be seeking a divorce. The second one is D, which is desertion. What does desertion mean? The person walked up, left, and never came back. Okay? And the third one would be I, which is irreparable or irretrievable, actually. I is for irretrievably broken down. What does that mean? It can mean anything. That's a beautiful category because it actually gives you the opportunity to just simply say, it's just not working out. Okay? And then C is cruelty. Cruelty can be categorized in 2 forms. It can be physical or emotional. So the person doesn't need to beat you up, but they could be an incredibly verbally and emotionally abusive human being. And that would be a reason why you'd want to leave. The fourth one would be exceptional depravity. Now, that's a category that I would simply just, define as that's just a perv. The person's a pervert. And so you would essentially use anything that just is abhorrent morally and for you is just irreprehensible, or you just can't live with that because you just find it really pretty disgusting. So those are the categories. I'll say it again, a dice. which is adultery, desertion, irreparably broken down, cruelty, and exceptional depravity, right? Those are the categories under which you could come under the Marriage Act of 2014 and request for a divorce. So guys, I don't like his face anymore, is not going to cut it. I don't like the way she chews her food, is not going to cut it. So you have to have something substantially more to be able to divorce somebody under those 4 categories of marriage that I referred to. So folks, I'd like to highlight something regarding the Hindu marriage as it relates to divorce. And yes, as we talked about adais, there are certain other issues that are specific to the Hindu marriage. One of them is if a party converts from the Hindu faith, if there is a person has committed rape, if a person has committed sodomy or is involved in bestiality. Those are specific to the Hindu marriage. If you'll note, I've not really discussed the Islamic divorce, and the reason is because, as I did mention, there will be a series on Islamic marriages and divorce, because this particular category of marriage has certain issues that are specific to the Islamic law. And this is permitted under the Marriage Act of 2014, and in fact it specifically states that you'd have to refer to Islamic law. That is why I'd prefer to discuss this in a separate series. So somebody asked me, on all these adais that you talk about, is there a time frame? Can I just wake up one day? I said, well, so this is what's happened. There was a ruling in 2019 that determined that providing a year or number of years, specifically the 3-year period that used to be there, there used to be a limit. You can't apply for a divorce unless you've gone through 3 years of whatever kind of torture you're going to go through. The court determined that that was actually unconstitutional. So essentially that 3-year rule has been thrown out the window, and as long as you can prove the adais categories, then you don't need to wait for any kind of time period. So that's important for you guys to know. You don't need to wait for that 3-year period. There have been people who have asked me, clients have asked me, what is the difference between a divorce and annulment? So here's the thing. With a divorce, you are ending a valid, recognized marriage. With an annulment, you're actually ending a relationship that you thought was a marriage, but actually cannot be defined as a marriage, or it can be null and void, can be made null and void. And so part of the conversation is, okay, so what are these things that would make a marriage null and void? And I'll give you examples. If you remember, we went and we discussed marriage don'ts. So guys, go back and watch Marriage Don'ts so that you know that these are categories of marriages that, although you went through the whole celebration, you went through the whole marriage process, in actual fact, this would not be recognized as a marriage if somebody challenged it. And so, for example, if a man found out that his wife was pregnant at the time of marriage with the child of another man, he has every right to proceed to annulment, to annul that marriage. But then remember also, guys, there is a time frame to that, right? The child can be like 17 and then, you decide you're going to annul the marriage. That's going to be a bit problematic for you. So the second reason that you would be able to annul a marriage is if you were incapable of consummating the marriage, okay? I had a case once where the lady had a condition which is called virginismus, and essentially making it totally impossible for them to consummate the marriage. Under that category, the man has 2 options, either to go for psychological counseling and help her through that process, or make a decision that this is not something that he wishes to proceed with because it's just too difficult for him. So conditions make it difficult for consummation, or a person just decides that they do not want to consummate the relationship. In that case, the person who is aggrieved can proceed for a annulment. And like I said, all the categories of prohibited marriages, as well as going back to the marriage don'ts. So yes, so there is a difference. Divorce is where there is a valid marriage and you're ending it, and an annulment is where this marriage may have been celebrated, but in actual fact did not have the necessary components to make it a valid marriage. So I hope you guys understand the difference between the two. Either way, you need to go to court and make your case heard, either for divorce or annulment. I hope that has been beneficial. Like, subscribe, and share.